Director Doug as he spans the globe by sea, by land, and air to bring you the best of Figures in Action!
Yes, go ahead. Do you guys have any tips for like beginning foam work? Practice small projects first before you try to do anything that you want to really do, because you're gonna mess up. One thing that I cannot emphasize enough, you will not get it right the first time on anything, ever. 10 years, there's still messed stuff up. I mess stuff up all the time. And I've been sewing since I was very little. But yeah, you will not get it right the first time. So don't be afraid to mess things up. Buy extra because you're gonna mess it up. Maybe you learn a new technique. Maybe you learn something a little different way because you messed up.
Kind of helpful before you start cutting into your foam, which I suggest getting like an X-Acto knife or something like that. It's much smoother cuts, make sure it's actually sharp. Be careful though. Try drawing out what you want on paper first, because if you've bought the foam and you cut it out and it didn't come out the way you want, you most of the time can't reuse that foam for something else. So a lot of times I like to draw it out on a piece of paper. Like if I know I need like a pauldron and it has to be rounded, I'll draw it out on paper, two sides, and just like tape it together to make sure that shape is going to be correct. You can do the same thing with cardboard. And then invest in a heat gun, because one, helps you to shape foam. You can always heat it up, stick it in a bowl if you want it rounded, it works. And then also what it does is a lot of times in your foam there's actually air bubbles, and when you heat it you collapse them so that it doesn't absorb the paint that you put on it at that point. Because if you just paint on a standard piece of foam, it'll just kind of sink into it. Once you've heated it, it'll actually sit on top of it. Ooh, and buckles. Buckles are really good for sealing foam things. I've used Velcro too, and it works out pretty well, but a lot of times, like when we have like a chest piece or something, you can just stick like one of those buckles, like the backpack parachute buckles, I think they're called actually. You can just hot glue one on each side and it'll just snap it shut, and it keeps it from bending outwards at that opening.
Yeah, use lots of snaps and lots of buckles. You have to keep, and the thing about drawing things out on foam, you should always start with a reference. You gotta make sure that you don't just imagine things in your mind, draw that out, even if it looks really bad, because you're the one using that reference. You understand what it is that you drew. So as long as you drew, okay, I've got a belt here, I'm gonna have this cape, it's gonna here. Write down the materials you're gonna use, because if something does happen to it, you mess up way too much, and you wanna go back for the same material, you wanna make sure you get that exact same material. So write your stuff down, draw out what you're envisioning, so that way you don't get off track. Make sure you have everything nice and in order, and all that good stuff. It's because organization will help you be a better cosplayer. So first steps, of course, you got to decide on what you want to do. Do it based on your skill set. Maybe you want to do a little higher than your skill set. Okay, so you know what you want to do, and you got to plan it out. So let's make sure we have our reference, get our list of materials. So I had to do the gloves. I made my boot covers, even though I could have just bought them. I made them. And my bird and my sash, and of course I had to turn a pair of leggings into a top. So it takes time. Organize your time as well. Gotta organize everything. But for the more insane hairstyles, yeah, your hair color might be the same, or you could probably dye it the same, but you're actually destroying your hair like that, and it could damage your scalp. So for more crazy things, like of course she's not going to bleach her dark hair white. So you want to get a wig. Always use a wig if it's nothing that you don't naturally already do. Otherwise you're going to destroy your hair and completely wreck your scalp.